Hi, this is Brian, and welcome to Digital School. We're here to create your first console application and an introduction to C Sharp language. So let's begin. First, let's get familiar on some terms. First, what is console application? A console application is one that you run at a command prompt. It doesn't rely on any sort of fancy graphic unit interface to provide a print interface. Console applications are useful for all sorts of utilitarian tasks, and many people with low-level computer knowledge prefer them because they're extremely efficient to use. However, many people use console applications without even knowing it because console applications often play a role in configuration tasks. Because console applications are also easier to write than any other application type, you see them and used quite often to demonstrate, in general, C Sharp language coding principles that really matter, like saying hello world. And what is a program? In practical sense, a Windows program is an executable file that you can run by double-clicking its icon. For example, Microsoft Word, the editor used to write documents, is a program. You call that an executable program, or executable for short. The name of executable program files generally end with the extension .exe, but a program is something else as well. An executable program consists of one or more source files. A C-sharp source file, for instance, is a text file that contains a sequence of C-sharp commands that fit together according to the laws of C-sharp grammar. Third, what is C-sharp? Programmers use the C-sharp programming language to create executable programs. C-sharp combines the range of the powerful but complicated C++ with the ease of use of the friendly but more verbose Visual Basic. A C-sharp program file carries the extension .cs, as I have said earlier, and to continue, these are the features of C-sharp. First, flexible. C-sharp programs can execute on the current machine, or they can be transmitted over the web and executed on some distant computer. Second, powerful. C-sharp has essentially the same command set as C++, but with the rough edges file smooth. Third, easier to use. C-sharp error proofs the command responsible for most C++ errors, so you spend far less time chasing down those errors. Fourth, visually oriented. The .NET code library that C Sharp uses for many of its capabilities provides the help needed to create complicated display frames with the control commonly seen in specific environments such as desktop, using technologies like Windows Forms, Windows Presentation, Foundation, and Universal Application Platform. Fifth, internet-friendly. C Sharp plays a pivot role in the .NET framework, Microsoft's current approach to programming for Windows, the Internet, and beyond. Sixth, secure. Any language intended for use on the Internet must include serious security to protect against malevolent hackers. And finally, C Sharp is an integral part of .NET Core, and other elements of the .NET ecosystem. Fourth, what is .NET? Think of .NET as the foundation of the application you want to build. It contains all low-level features you need to create an application, but C Sharp builds on that foundation to make development easier. For the purpose of this tutorial, .NET includes these sub-elements. First, .NET Framework. This is the Windows-only feature-complete version of .NET that you use for the majority of this tutorial. Second, .NET Core. This is the multi-platform, less functional version of .NET that you use to implement some C Sharp 9.0 and C Sharp 10 features. It allows you to use the same application on any platforms like Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and mobile devices via San Marino app. Fifth, what is Visual Studio 2022? It's a working environment for making application. Think of it as MS Word for making documents and MS Excel for working spreadsheets. So it's a tool for making applications using different languages such as C Sharp. Visual Studio 2022 is the 11th generation successor to the original Visual Studio.NET which we are using in this tutorial. By now, we're ready to create our first application. Visual Studio 2022 includes an application wizard that builds template programs and saves you a lot of dirty work you'd have to do if you did everything from scratch. Typically, starter programs don't really do anything, at least not anything useful. However, they do get you beyond that initial hurdle of getting started. Some starter programs are reasonably sophisticated. In fact, you'll be amazed at how much capability the App Wizard can build on its own, especially for graphical programs. First, open Visual Studio 2022 by clicking its icon. If this is the first time you'd used Visual Studio 2022, you won't see any recent files and you may also see additional Get Started options or two. Notice that you can connect to various source code locations, open a recently opened project or solution, or create something new. Let's click the Create a New Project link. You see a rather long and confusing list of project types. However, you can easily prune away the projects you don't want. Select C# in the language drop-down list box. Windows in the platform drop-down list box. And console in the project type drop-down list box. Visual Studio presents you with entries representing the different types of application you can create, as shown in the screen. Notice that each entry shows a language and the platform that it supports. In the Create a New Project window, select the Console App .NET Framework entry. Visual Studio requires you to create a project before you can start entering your C# program. A project is a folder into which you throw all the files that you will go into making your program. It has set of configuration files that help the compiler do its work. When you tell your compiler to build the program, it sorts through the project to find the files it needs in order to create the executable program. Visual Studio 2022 provides support for both .NET Framework and .NET Core applications. A .NET Framework application is the same as the C# applications supported in previous versions of Windows. It runs only in Windows and isn't open source. A .NET Core application can run in Windows, Linux, and Mac environments and relies on an open source setup. Although using .NET Core may seem ideal, the .NET Core application also supports only a subset of the .NET Framework features, and you can't add a GUI to them. Microsoft created the .NET Core for these uses. First, cross-platform development. Second, microservices. Third, Docker containers. Fourth, high-performance and scalable applications. And fifth, side-by-side .NET application. Now, let us click Next. You see a Configure Your New Project dialog box. This is where you tell the wizard how to create the basics of your application. The default name of your first application is Console App 1. But change it this time to Program 1 by typing the name field. The default place to store this file is somewhere deep in your Documents directory. For most developers, it's a lot better to place the files where you can actually find them and interact with them as needed, not necessarily where Visual Studio wants them. Next, type C# projects tutorials in the location field to change the location of this project as based on my laptop. Next, select Place, Solution, and Project in the same directory. You use this option to make solutions that contains just one project simpler. A solution is a container for multiple projects when you want to create a complex application. For example, you might want to create a console application that also includes a special library contained in a DLL file. Click the Create button. After a bit of disk wiring and chattering, Visual Studio generates a file named program.cs. If you look in the window labeled Solution Explorer shown in the screen, you see some other files. For now, ignore them now. If Solution Explorer isn't visible, choose View Solution Explorer. C# source files carry the extension .cs. The name program is the default name assigned for the program file. The contents of your first console application appears this way. You can manually change the location of the project with every project. However, you have a simpler way to go. When working with this tutorial, you can change the default program location. To make that happen, follow the steps after you finish creating the project. Choose Tools, and Options. Choose Projects and Solutions. And look for Location. From here, you can change the default location of your project files. By now, let's leave it as default. Along the left edge of the code window, you see several small minus signs in boxes. Click minus sign next to the first using statement, and all using statements collapse into using, like this. Enter with a plus sign next to it. Now click the plus sign next to using. This expands a code region, a handy Visual Studio feature that minimizes clutter. Here are the directives that appear when you expand the region in the default console app. Region helps you focus on the code you're working on by hiding code that you aren't. Certain blocks of code, such as the namespace block, class block, methods, and other code items, get a plus-minus automatically with a region directive. You can add your own collapsible region if you like by typing this. And a code section and end it with this line. It helps to supply a name for the region such as public method. This code section looks like this. The name can include spaces. Also, you can nest one region inside another, but regions can't overlap. For now, using system is the only using directive you really need. You can delete the other. The compiler lets you know where you're missing one. Before you try to create your application, open the output window by choosing View Output. To convert your C# program into an executable program, Choose build program 1. Visual Studio responds with the following message. Build started project program 1, configuration debug in CPU. Build 1 succeeded. 0 failed, 0 up to date, and 0 skipped. The key point here is 1 succeeded, part on the last line. As a general rule of programming, succeeded is good, failed is bad. To execute the program, choose debug, start debugging. The output of this is that the program brings up a black console window and terminates immediately. The program has seemingly done nothing. In fact, this is the case. The template is nothing but an empty shell. Now, let's make our console application do something. Let us edit the program.cs template file until it appears this way. Notice that there is a double slash line, so this is only a comment section and the program engine does not read this line. This is only good for notation purposes so that you will know what you are doing. Usually, this is the start of our main application. Static void main. By now, we are finished encoding our code, so let us try to run the application. Now let us enter our name and press enter. As you can see, the program responds with hello Brian, which is our name, and asks us to enter key to terminate the program. And now let us press enter key. The program terminates and our console application runs smoothly. For the next video, we will try to understand the code that we are writing and understand how it works. Thank you for watching.